Welcome to the Hotshot. I tell you, this is Hot Rod Howard, and right here we have, and I can say one of the probably most famous wrestlers in this area. He's done it all. He's been all over the place, and I want to talk to the Golden Boy, Greg Anthony. Greg, it is my honor to have you here.
Man, I'm happy to be here with you. I mean, anytime we can sit here and talk a little wrestling, talk a little Christianity, talk a little faith, that's a good day for me. So.
You know, I know we have not talked a whole lot, but like I've kind of watched you, you know, from the scenes. I've seen you do a lot of stuff. You were been very prominent in the Dyersburg wrestling scene up there, and a lot of companies came from Dyersburg. Pretty much all the companies came to West Tennessee started out with Dyersburg Wrestling. I think it's DCW. I think what it was, or whatever it was the day.
Yeah, but even before that, like I just talked about it this past week. Like, and there was one time in professional wrestling where Dyersburg, Tennessee, was the southern capital of professional wrestling. Any decision that was made in professional wrestling was made in Dyersburg, Tennessee, for the southern states, with the Welsh family and the Fullers and all that. So, Dyersburg has a very rich history and something that I've always been proud of, and I've always tried to, you know, kind of put that at the forefront of what we're doing, is how important Dyersburg is to the grand scheme of things.
Okay. And so how long have you been professionally in the business?
It'll be 25 years in April is when I started. I was 18 years old, and it was in 2000. So we were just kids. We were kids like, you know, the Hardy Boys, stuff like that. We were doing backyard wrestling, of all things, of course. And John Michael, who's one of my best friends, me and him grew up together. We went to high school together. I'm a couple years older than him. We were doing the backyard thing. And Memphis Championship Wrestling was a developmental territory at the time for the WWF. And they were coming to New Bern, Tennessee, which is our hometown. They were coming to New Bern, Tennessee once a month. And they were drawing about 30 or 40 people. You know what I mean? And this is when they had William Regal. They had Daniel Bryan when he was still the American Dragon under a hood. Right. They had Shooter Schultz. They had Lance Cade. They had Reckless Youth. They had just this plethora. R-Truth was there when he was still K-Crush. You know what I mean? It was just this plethora of talent. And they were drawing about 30, 40 people a week. So John Michael, his dad was a cop in New Bern. So he went up to Terry Golden, who was the promoter, and said, "Hey, listen, my son and his friends are trying to break into wrestling. Can you help them?" And Terry, being the smart businessman that he is, he brought us in for a workout and saw what we could do. And he said, "Okay, next month when we come back, you guys are going to do an intermission match." Okay. Right? So we went around for an entire month, you know, telling everybody we're professional wrestlers. You know, we're gonna get to wrestle. You know, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that. And that next show came, and intermission match ended up being semi-main event, and there was over 200 people there.
Oh, all right then.
So, but Terry still protected the business. Like, we weren't fully trained. You know, we were just, you know, some kids that he put on the card, so we weren't allowed to be in the locker room with everyone else. We had our own separate locker room by ourselves. And we came from a completely different entranceway, the whole nine. But, you know, we did that for a couple months, and then eventually Memphis Championship Wrestling lost its developmental, and then we caught on with a local promotion, and that's when we started training and started work every week and get better.
So you guys are kind of like the young lions, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, we were just looking for an opportunity. Well, obviously we weren't trying to disrespect the business anyway. We were trying to get in and find our way in. And people got to understand this too. This was, you know, early 2000s. You know, this is way before you could go on Google and type in wrestling school and 300 places came up.
Right.
You know what I mean? This is at the cusp of that era where it was still like you had to know somebody that knew the secret handshake to
Mm-hmm.
kind of get you into the business. And like, so we didn't have that. And we were trying to find our way in, and Terry Golden just let us in just a little bit. And because of the work we did there, and people saw that we had potential, we were able to catch on with a local promotion here. And that's when we started training with Rude from Naughty by Nature, and then we hooked up with Motley, and it just continued on from there.
Okay, okay. Now let me ask. You mentioned Rude, you mentioned Motley, and I know you've wrestled all over the area. I know you've been there. I've seen your name and posters all over the place. Um, if you had opportunity to say where was, if you could name me the 5 best places that you enjoyed wrestling at, just that you really like. I don't mind going here. I have a blast when I go there. You have 5 of them? Can you name 5?
Yeah, I mean, well, number one, I got to say traditional championship wrestling, because TCW, when I was a part of it, we were available in 50 million homes. You know what I mean? Like, in my opinion, at that time period, you had WWE, and you had Impact and all that kind of stuff, but like the production on TCW was so good. I think we were better in production than Ring of Honor. And I think we gave TNA Impact a run for its money too. So production wise, I think we were 2-3, somewhere in that neighborhood. And,
Weren't they in Arkansas?
well, we did everywhere. We did Arkansas, we did Nashville, we did Mississippi, we did Missouri, we did a lot of places. We were a national company. And we had huge stars like Matt Hardy come in, and DDP, and then Lance Archer was one of our champion at one point. We had Tommy Dreamer was a regular part of our crew, and then we had guys like myself and Alan Steele that were cornerstones of the promotion. I mean, it was an amazing promotion, and it was actually one of these things that helped change my career for the better. So TCW would always be number one, I think, just because of the opportunity that it allowed me.
Okay. Okay. Number 2.
Number two, I'm going to go back to the Dyersburg Entertainment Center, because that was one of the places that I cut my teeth, and I got to learn a lot of stuff. And the first time people start seeing the Golden Boy was really at the Dyersburg Entertainment Center. It's now the Dog Pound over on East Court Street, but it was built for professional wrestling. It was an amazing building and an amazing thing, and it had a lot of us. Let's see, three. I'd probably say NWA Houston.
Okay.
Was a really good promotion. It was at a VFW in Cypress, Texas, right outside Houston, and it was just the atmosphere there was interesting, because that company, they were really trying to model themselves after kind of like a mini Ring of Honor kind of thing. There was a lot of that kind of style going on, and then when me and Riviera came in there, we were the old school territory heel tag team. You know what I mean? And we turned everything upside down. All of a sudden, people were like, the first night we were there, we had a teenage girl. She threw a full Coke can at both of us,
Wow.
and it like whizzed right in front of us. You know what I mean? And like she's yelling and screaming. They had to pick her up and like carry her out the front door. She was so upset. You know what I mean? And we got to the back, and the guys were like, "How did you guys get heat like that?" I was like, "That's the name of the game, right?" You know what I mean? But they had never seen anything like that before, because they were all, very Ring of Honor, hold, this kind of stuff. And they hadn't seen someone come in and get actual heat like that. So that was always a fun place to go, just for the contrast of night and day between most of the roster and then us, And then let's see, I'm going to say CAC in Vegas.
Okay.
The
Cauliflower Alley.
Cauliflower Alley, yeah. I
Mm-hmm.
went out there for I think 8 years straight. I went out there, and I got the main event, like three shows in a row,
Oh, okay.
and that was an honor, because when you look at CAC, you're looking at pretty much, no pun intended, the best of the best,
Yeah.
and like I was able to be put in that spot to main event those shows. It was an honor for me to do that, because there's a lot of great talent across the country, and to be able to be on top at that particular time, was amazing. And it was just, it was a casino. It was Vegas. It was, you look in the front row, and The Rock's mom is sitting there watching you, or
Mm-hmm.
the original Destroyer. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? Like it was surreal. You know what I mean? And like, not only are you wrestling in front of them, but they're reacting to you. They're part of the show. they appreciated what they were seeing, and that was a huge thing too. Um, let's see, where would be the next one be? Probably Chicago, because I got to do this past year. I got to wrestle up in Chicago, and it was this big ballroom. I don't even know the name of the building now, to be honest, but it was an amazing venue, and it was a really good show, and it was just a fun time. I mean, I'm originally from Southern Illinois, and as you may or may not know, I'm a huge Chicago Bulls fan.
Hey,
So
me too. I'm from Chicago.
yeah,
That's why. Yeah.
so to be at a high profile match in Chicago was nice too. So
Okay. All right, man. Okay. One more. One more. One more.
one more. I still
You
got
got
one
one
more.
more. Mm-hmm.
Man, I gotta go. I gotta go Memphis, Tennessee, man.
Okay.
I'm gonna go Memphis. I'm gonna go Beale Street. I'm gonna go. What's the venue? The venue that Kenny used to run all the time. I'm drawing a blank right now.
Oh gosh.
The music venue.
Yes. I can't think of the name
I
of
know.
it.
I've been hit the head too many times, man.
I've been to so many places I can't remember half the places I've been to. But yeah, I know what you're talking about. That
You know
was a
what?
wild place. That was
Yeah, that was always a fun time there too. And just Beale Street, Memphis and the history of Memphis wrestling and stuff like that. And like I just remember I had a match with somebody went before and we kind of got wild. Memphis, we kind of got wild and
Memphis style.
Memphis style. We brawled out the front door and like I threw someone into a trash can on Beale Street and like there was a cop like walking this way and someone goes, "Okay, let's go inside now." And like, we fought our way back inside. But we brawled on Beale Street. I mean, there's not too many guys that can say that. So
True. And you've wrestled a lot of the top guys. I mean, you're one of the probably few guys around who pretty much have wrestled a lot of the top guys back in the day. Okay, everybody's coming around now, but back in the day, it was very limited. If you had 5 guys, let me say, I'm gonna give 5 guys outside of the area and 5 guys in the area. Okay, and that's the reason I'm asking this because I know you, I know what you've done, but I think everybody else needs to know that Greg Anthony's not just a Dyersburg hooligan, okay? or he's running Southern Illinois or whatever. Because as I say, when I found out you were in the AIWF and you were the champion, I was really surprised. And I said I said, I keep watching it and see what's going on with you. So, but anyway, if you have 5 guys outside of this area, maybe well-known guys, who would you enjoy wrestling more?
like all time or like current guys?
All time.
All time. So the Tokyo Monster Cahagas. Cahagas. He's an old school guy. He's a tough as nails, old school guy. Like a guy that you're not going to mess with him inside the ring, but you're sure not going to mess with him outside the ring either. You know what I mean? Like he's an old school tough guy, and we got to wrestle in Vegas, and that's just that one time. But I mean, he's legit. You know what I mean? That's someone that I wish that I got more time with. In Texas, Tim Storm and I have wrestled a few times, but not as many times as a lot of people think. Because we're really good friends and we're really close, and like a lot of people would assume we've wrestled 100 times, but I think we've only wrestled maybe like 3 times ever. You know what I mean? And he's a former NWA World Champion. Obviously, I'm a former NWA National Heavyweight Champion. And we were in TCW together and things like that. But he was a guy that obviously I wish I had more time with. Matt Riviera, another guy that he was my best friend, and we tagged all over the place, and we got to wrestle a few times against each other. But like it could always been more. Like Matt's a guy that he was just. He was the hardest working man in professional wrestling. You know what I mean? And he doesn't get enough credit for some of the things that he did for me and a lot of other guys. But he was just so hardworking, and it's infectious. Like I always said that I was really good when I went to work for him, but he made me better. You know what I mean? He made me want to get the better gear. He made me want to, make sure my look was on point. He made me want to, get in better shape. He made me want to do all these things that just kept making me better and better and better. And he was infectious about it. You know what I mean? Like when you're around someone that's that driven, you know what I mean? It's impossible not to have some of that rub off on you, So he really helped me a lot there. Let's see, Jay Lethal.
Okay.
Jay Lethal, I got to wrestle Jay Lethal in Arkansas. and we tore the house down. And and this has kind of been the story of my whole life is like people see me and they're just like, I don't get it. You know what I mean? Like they look at me, I'm kind of, I'm 5 foot nothing, I'm overweight, I'm kind of pudgy, you know what I mean? So people, when they first said this is supposed to be the best guy, or
Right.
this guy's supposed to be really good, that's kind of the way it always is. And then I start talking and then I start wrestling and people go, oh, okay, now I get it. And that was what Jay Lethal, me and Jay Lethal talked about that. He said when he saw me, he was like, who's this guy? You know what I mean? And then we get out there in the match and we start going. And he said he felt it. You know what I mean? Like it came over him. Like, and he caught a thing where I slapped the living hell out of him. You know what I mean? And he called that because he was in the moment and he knew it worked. And we ended up tearing the house down. So I mean, that's a guy for sure that I wish we'd had more than just the one match. But I mean, he was so good. I think we could have done so many. I think we could have done a best of 7 series that would have topped just about anything. You know what I mean? It was so good. But
I can name drop. I had lunch with Jay Lethal one time in Nashville.
did you?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, he's great. Oh, he's so good. He's so
He
smooth.
is.
He's so good.
And he's
I
such
mean,
a humble guy. He's humble.
yeah. I mean, so nice and so humble, and like I said, I had nothing but good things to say after working with him. And then Zach Gowen is another guy. You know what I mean? I wrestled Zach 3 or 4 times, and like he's so good, and people don't understand how good he is because he just has the one leg. You know what I mean? Like, but people don't understand. Like when you wrestlers will understand this when I say it. You know how someone is sometimes when you lock up.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, and I locked up with him, and it was like you automatically knew he was a natural. You know what I mean? And if he didn't, a lot of people he only got to WWE because of the one leg. That's okay. Then maybe that is part of the case. But the thing is, he had the talent to be there too.
Right.
You know what I mean? If he would have had 2 legs, there's no telling what could have happened with his career. But I mean, because he was really, really good. Really good at selling, really good at getting sympathy, even for the fact that he had 1 leg. You know what I mean? He's going to get sympathy regardless, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like he took a lot of pride in his selling, like a Ricky Morton. And like that was it was a fun experience always getting to work with him.
Okay. There's one more person.
One more outside.
The name is on your chest.
Yeah, beautiful Bobby. Beautiful Bobby was he was one of my heroes growing up. Like I was always drawn to the seamless Southern heels.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't say that. I didn't know what that was when I was a kid, obviously. But like I knew when I watched Beautiful Bobby Eaton, it was going to be a great match. Mm-hmm. I knew when I watched Arn Anderson, it was going to be a great match. I knew when I watched Ted DiBiase and Tully Blanchard and some of these other guys, I knew that and I sought out those matches. You know what I mean? And it didn't take me until I got in the business to realize what I was attracted to in that sense was that specific style. So like Bobby, I grew up idolizing him, and there was a spot where he was going to be in Arkansas, and then when we wanted to do this handshake thing with him, and we ended up building up an angle, and we actually wrestled each other, in like 2004. It's Thanksgiving 2004, I think. Went out there, had a fantastic match. I beat him. I pinned Bobby Eaton, then. And then about 5 years later, he's going to be moving to Arkansas, and he's looking for someone to tag with. And the original idea was he was going to pick someone in Arkansas and he was going to pick someone in Tennessee, and he was going to tag with 2 young guys in both those areas. Mm-hmm. I got picked as the Tennessee guy. Thanks in big part to Coach BT had suggested me for that part. So, and then somewhere along the way, somebody got in the guy that was supposed to be the Arkansas kid. Somebody got in his ear and told him it wasn't going to be a good idea for him to tag with Bobby Eaton. It was this or that, whatever reason may that be. And like he turned down the opportunity, and I just kind of went, I'll do both. Mm-hmm. I can wrestle in Arkansas too, and we started tagging, and that's when we became Midnight Gold. And we tagged for 2 years, and that entire experience changed the trajectory of my career.
Okay. And we talked about well-known guys. Let's talk about the ones who may not be as well-known, or kind of guys around the area that you've spent a lot of time, like I say, all over West Tennessee, all over eastern Arkansas, Boot Hill, Missouri. You probably done some stuff in Mississippi. If you had five guys now that you know of,
That
these
are
five
still
guys
active.
that are active now,
That are active
or
now.
it can be semi-active.
Semi-active.
Mm-hmm.
I really want to say Christian Jacobs first. I know he retired for us
Right.
uh, a little bit ago, but he was just so good. You know what I mean? Like me and him did I think 3 or 4 different programs probably about 5 years apart in each one, and each one was better than the last. You know what I mean? Like, and he was just so good. And of course, he always looked like $1,000,000. He was always in fantastic shape, and it was always, like I said, it was always that contrast of CJ looking like this and me looking like I do, and just that contrast of us wrestling each other. But we always had really good chemistry too. So I'll say him. Um, let's go with a guy that I really didn't get to do a lot with, but like I wish that we had was a guy named Tony Dabbs.
Yeah, I know Tony.
Yeah, Tony was really good. I think I tagged against me and Bobby tagged against him and Neil Taylor once.
Okay.
And I think that's the only time Tony Dabbs and I have ever been in the ring together. And like he was good. I mean, he was really good. Like we talk about that natural selling kind of thing, and like we just never had an opportunity. We were never really in the same place at the same time to do that kind of stuff. There's a kid out there that I hear good things about, but I've never actually been around him, and I don't know him personally. But I see his athleticism, I see his potential, and I would love to get my hands on him. You know what I mean? Like we talk about that. Like if you can just get your hands on some of these kids and really, hey, I know what you can do and I know what you can be. Just let me help you just a little bit. But a kid named Marco Harris,
Yes.
I mean, he looks phenomenal. He's amazingly athletic. You know what I mean? I see him and I see all the things he does and I'm impressed. And I wish that old school guy. I mean, man, I wish I just had him. I wish I had him for just, like a weekend. You know what I mean? I think I could really open his mind to some different stuff in just that weekend. Let's go with another guy that I really haven't wrestled a lot, even though we should have wrestled a lot, is Serpent from Osceola. You know what I mean? Like he's fantastic. I mean, he's been fantastic for 25 years. Like I've been around,
right?
And he's been very, very good. And it's just like we've wrestled some here and there, but not as a lot as you think we would have. You know what I mean? I think he's a guy that he's still going strong. He still looks like he can move really well. I mean, he's still getting after it. I think he's a guy that other guys can learn from too. He came into Dyersburg a couple years ago for me and worked one of my young guys, and they had a fantastic match. So, how many people do I have left?
Got one more.
I got one more left.
One more.
Man, this is tough. It gets tough after a while, doesn't it?
I know. If you have to have a tie, that's fine too.
I'm trying to think. There's a lot of kids out there, but well, I'll tell you, what is that kid's name? There's a kid in Texas. You said around here, though. I'm sorry. The Austin Mullet. I can never say his last name.
Austin Yeah.
Yeah. I like him. I like him a lot too. He's got a good look and he's got a good attitude. I've been around him a few times. He came work my show a little bit when we were doing Thursdays in Jackson. And another kid that I think has all the potential in the world. Just I'd like to polish him up just a little bit, just to see how much he knows and how much he wants to learn, and kind of take that and go off and do his thing. But he's definitely got a look and as the kids say nowadays, he has an aura to him.
He does. I remember the first time I saw him, of course, was in SICW. Many times he was, doing opening matches. But I saw something in him, potentially. Yeah. So you worked, like I said, a lot of different organizations, but you had opportunities to work with the AIWF. And did you ever go to North Carolina? Have you been over there, up there?
Yeah, I went and did the anniversary show last year.
Okay.
And defended the title in a bull rope match of all things. So yeah, but yeah, it was a fun time.
They're kind of wild up there in North Carolina.
Man, they're wild a little bit everywhere. I think if you get the
Yeah,
right place, But they were. I was wrestling Ty Tyson, which he's the big hometown hero there.
yeah.
So I was trying to be, uh, I was trying to be the white meat baby face that I am, but they did not want that very much. They like Ty Tyson way too much.
And so I know dealing with that, you have to deal with Matt Classic and some of those guys there. And let's say I have to say, you were the second AIWF champion from this area. Uh, you and Devon Day, and I say
Mhm.
that, and I say it in all honesty because both of you all have what it takes, have what it takes
Hmm.
to do what needs to be done. Uh, of course, I would love to see you all in a higher, in other
Yeah,
places, but I've when I saw that and I saw you, I said that's the person that needs to do it. That's the person around here that needs to do it, bar anybody else. So,
yeah. I take great pride in everything I do. I take great pride in wrestling in general. You know what I mean? Like, um, when I became AIWF champion, there was 90 promotions in like 31 countries,
mhm.
and then obviously just recently I lost the title, and we have 150 promotions in 49 countries. You know what I mean? So I really believe like I helped increase the visibility of the AIWF. We had a lot of promotions that specifically signed on after I became champion and cited me as the reason they became champion because they knew if I was a part of it, then there was something to it. You know what I mean? And that means a lot to me professionally because I think you know, I've cultivated the idea that hey, listen, Greg Anthony, even if you don't like him, even if you argue with him or whatever the thing is, that Greg Anthony knows what he's talking about. You know what I mean? And that his at least his opinion on whatever we're talking about needs to be respected. So I feel like I've earned that right, and I appreciate people that that they may not like what I have to say, but at least they respect what I have to say.
And that's the most important thing. Whether somebody agrees with you or not, it doesn't. As long as they respect who you are. And as I was
Yeah.
telling about the AIWF, when we started there, when I started there was like 30 promotions. I think when we left, it was like 45. I was almost going to England. I just about had a trip to go to England because I was doing a lot of the, news stuff for them. But
Yeah.
things happen. But it is what it is. So let me ask, what are your goals from now from this day on? I know you've had some health issues and you've overcome those. Uh, what are your goals this day on?
Well, my number one goal when it comes to wrestling is just to keep wrestling. You know what I mean? Like, I'm 43 years old. I turned 44 in June. And like, I look around and a lot of the guys that I started with are gone.
Mm-hmm,
Most of them are gone. There's not a lot of us left.
mm-hmm,
You know what I mean? And like, I think that's a testament in itself. The fact that we're still around. Um, my immediate goal is to wrestle until I'm 50. You know what I mean? But I want to wrestle for the rest of my life. I want to be like Luthez and have my last match when I'm 74 or something.
or
You know what I
Terry
mean?
Funk.
Yeah,
You
or
retire and come back, retire and come back.
I'm probably never going to actually retire. I thought we've had that conversation. Is like I may do something where I don't go quote unquote full time anymore. You
Mm-hmm,
know what I mean? Where we're wrestling 2, 3, 4 days a week. But if I wrestle a couple times a year or something like that, maybe that's what ends up happening. But I'm going to do it for as long as I can. I'm going to do it till the wheels fall off.
okay.
So my goal is to keep progressing pro wrestling in South, keep teaching all these younger guys the way that I believe they should be taught in professional wrestling, and try to keep that old school mentality alive as best we can. We've got a lot of really good young talent in pro wrestling in South. A lot of guys that are they might be older as far as when they started to train, but they're young guys in the fact that they've only been wrestling a few years. But we've all got that same mentality of what's going on. And once I kind of explain to them why we do the things we do, how we do the things we do, everyone starts to get it eventually. You know what I mean? A lot of people see what's going on television or what's going on in professional wrestling around the world and stuff like that, and they want to do a lot of that stuff. And I can completely understand that, but I'm trying to say, hey, I want you to wrestle 15 years from now. You know what I mean? I don't want you to take this particular bump And like that particular bump is going to make sure that you don't wrestle in 10 years.
Right.
You know what I mean? If you do it consistently,
Right.
like I said, I'm 43 years old and I've been wrestling since I was 18. You know what I mean? And even though I did have the health issues, it had nothing to do with professional wrestling. It was,
Mhm.
I was born with no right arteries in my heart. So, um, and the fact that I'm still able to do this, and I think at a pretty high level, you know what I mean? Like I still have really good matches. Do I move like I did when I was 23? No. Father Time is undefeated, right?
Right. Most
But
definitely. And you still travel. That's the thing. You still here and now, and that has a lot to do with it too.
yeah, and that's the thing too. Like like you said, sometimes I get the critique or the criticism that I'm just a Dyersburg guy. And the thing is, I'm here because this is where I want to be. I'm not here because this is the only place I can be.
Right.
You know what I mean? And like and that was proof when I became AIWF champion. You know, people called me or I contacted them, and it was yes. There was never a no. There was never like a no. We don't want to bring you in or anything like that. It's like okay, when, where, how much do you need?
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like in all these places. So it feels good to have that kind of respect and that kind of reputation where I could if I wanted to go to California to wrestle, I could go there. If I want to go to Minnesota and do this, I can do that. I'm going to Connecticut Thursday in wrestling. You know what I
Okay.
mean? They're flying me to Connecticut to wrestle. And so it's good that I can do those kind of things.
You gonna go knock on Stanford's door?
I'm actually
Ah,
I've never been to New York, and I'm actually flying into New York. I'm flying into
okay.
JFK, so
Hmm.
I'm kind of excited. Like I'm like, oh, it's New York. I've always kind of wanted to go to New York. I don't know if I'm going to have time to do anything, but I mean, we'll see. But
Okay. Now let's turn the page a little bit. I mean, we've talked about wrestling, we talked about all that, but one thing that I've always identified, and I've watched, like I say, I see what you write in different things, is how important your faith, your trust in God is. So let's talk a little bit about that. Kind of, where does that lie with Greg Anthony, not the Golden Boy? Now it's Greg Anthony.
right. Um, well, for me, like I didn't grow up in church. You know what I mean? Like, um, and my family believed, but we didn't go to church, and there wasn't. I just didn't have a lot of knowledge about Jesus and Christ and God and all that kind of stuff. Um, I started going to church when I was a teenager because the friends I had in school, their families went to church and they invited me, so I started going to church like that. And of course, what happens with everything. I experienced a case of church hurt, as they say. I had a really really good youth pastor that was amazing, and he was a very positive youth pastor. He was very, if you do this, this, and this, then you'll be in heaven with me. You know what I mean? And with all good youth pastors, what happens is he got an offer to be an actual pastor somewhere else, and he left. And the new guy that came in was the exact opposite of him.
Right.
The new
That
guy that
happened.
came in, instead of saying, if you do this, this, and this, you're going to be in heaven with me, he would say, well, if you do this, this, and this, then you're going to be in hell burning alive.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? And it was just that huge contrast for me that I had trouble with because, like I said, I didn't grow up in church. So if I would have went to church and that second youth pastor had said those things to me the first night I was there, I probably would have came back. You know, so it was trying to get him to understand that we're kids and we're trying to get more kids to come.
Right.
You know what I mean? So we have to find a way for him to, even though what he's saying is technically correct, you know what I mean? Because the Bible does say it, you know what I mean?
Right.
But there's a way to tell people these things to where they understand them and they want to be a part of the church and they have that connection with God and stuff. And he just wasn't getting that point. So I stepped away from church, and I ended up stepping away for 20 years, 25 years, you know what I mean, roughly. And then I had the instance with my heart. Like I said, I was 36 years old, and we found out that I was born with no right arteries, and I had three blockages. I had two 70% blockages in my heart, and then I had a 90% blockage in my widowmaker.
Hmm.
And I was wrestling 30 minutes a night,
Right.
a breath away from a heart attack. And when you're 36 years old, you don't think it's a heart issue.
Hmm.
When I'm 36 years old and I'm having chest pains when I wrestle, well, it's blood pressure.
Mm-hmm.
It's something I ate. It's
Mm-hmm.
acid reflux. It's all these other things it could be. So I go get checked out, and they eventually do like a 4D scan of my heart. And I was on my way to a wrestling show because I told them when we had the scan, I was like, listen, I'm not an intramural softball player. I'm a professional wrestler. Like I wrestle for a living.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't call and tell me something's wrong, then I'm going to wrestle this weekend.
Right.
Right. And so apparently they stayed up late and got the results in. And the doctor called me on my way to the wrestling show and basically said, hey, listen, don't wrestle. You've got two 70% blockages and a 90% blockage in your Widowmaker. You could die.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So, like most people, and when you've got nothing left, you go to God, right?
Right.
And that's what it was for me. It wasn't that. It was partially like, okay, I'm never going to wrestle again and stuff like this, but mainly it was I've got a wife, I've got two small children. My kids were 2017. They were 10 and 8 at the time.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So I had two small kids, and the thought of not being there for them was heartbreaking. So you just ask God to save you. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And like I felt the power of prayer. Like we had to make it public because people know me and they know if I'm not wrestling, something's
Something's
wrong.
wrong. Mm-hmm.
Especially my own guys. My own guys were freaking out because I was actually supposed to wrestle Tim Storm for the world's heavyweight title Saturday night, and like I get the call Friday night
Mm-hmm.
about the stuff. So they knew me not wrestling, but me not wrestling for the world title. You mean I would have to be in a life or death situation to
Right.
where I wouldn't wrestle that match. So we had to go public. We had to tell everybody. And once I told everybody, it got reported, it got shared. Dave Meltzer even he shared news of it on his Observer.
Mm-hmm.
That I was having to do the surgery, and I just felt the power of prayer kind of wash over me. And I kind of now that I have time to reflect on it, and after hearing other people talk about it, I really think I was in the presence of God. When all that happened, after hearing the way that other people have described them being in the presence of God, I really think that's what it was. He was there and he touched me that day, and I was able to heal and like heal spiritually more or less because it just opened up my eyes completely to something that I kind of shut myself off from. I mean, there was a time period in my life when I didn't know what I believed. Like I thought I was too smart to believe in God at one point. You know what I mean? That's what happens with most people that are
Mm-hmm.
atheists is they think they're too smart. Oh, I can't believe in this.
Right.
This is nonsense. But then once you feel it and once you understand what's going on and once you start actually reading the Bible and you actually start doing your own kind of studying and you pray every day and you see the miracles happening around you, then it's impossible to deny. You know what I mean? And he's done so many miracles in my life since then. You know what I mean? Like that was the first one. First of all, the fact that I didn't die when I was wrestling with a 90% blockage
Right.
is insane. The doctors couldn't believe it. But the doctors said also that because I played basketball in high school, and then
Mm-hmm.
as soon as high school was over, I started wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
That I built my heart up so much that it actually protected me. That's what saved my life was all that cardiovascular conditioning from that.
Okay.
Because the fact of the matter is, like basketball, for instance, there was a time period when I wanted to play college basketball, and I had a couple opportunities, and then even if I did that, like how basketball is, like I would have got to play to what I was 24, maybe,
Mm-hmm.
maybe 25,
Right.
but like wrestling, I've got to wrestle, 30 minutes a night, 2-3 times a week since I
Mm-hmm.
was 18. You know what I mean? Like basketball wouldn't have done the same thing. I tell in our little prayer we do before our events, I tell them, hey, every skill you have, every talent you possess, you only possess because the good Lord gave it to you. So don't brag or boast for your own benefit. brag and boast for him, right? And
Amen.
that's kind of the kind of thing. Like God could have gave me a singing voice like Chris Stapleton or Marvin Gaye or anyone, but that wouldn't have saved my life, would have. But so he put all my talents in professional wrestling, so I could be successful at this. So I think I could live, and then I could live and lead people to the kingdom of God.
So, do you sometimes have problems evangelizing when you're, especially with, other wrestlers who may have stretched the word of God, certain, they feel like they can do certain things. And as a
Yeah,
minister, I'm saying, it's sometimes you're around guys and uh, you have to, of course, there's a time to speak and time to be silent.
yeah.
And to be able to balance that out, does that cause a problem sometimes, especially in the locker room? There's
So
guys.
so our locker room, it's after the heart surgery. After the heart surgery, I became a Christian and my life changed. And I was running Pro Wrestling Mid South, but we weren't really a Christian company yet. You
Mm-hmm.
know, like I was a Christian and I was running the company, but we weren't really
Right,
a Christian company yet.
right. Mm-hmm.
So then a couple years after that, I had another scare to where they said, "Hey, listen, you've got another blockage in a main artery. We're not going to be able to stent you this time. If we go in there this time, more than likely, and there's a blockage, we're going to have to do open heart surgery, and you're going to be out of action for over a year." So for a couple of weeks, I just prayed every prayer I could to the good Lord that just let it not be there. Just let whatever they're seeing, just let it not be there, Lord. That kind of thing. And they went in with a heart cath, and the guy's doing his thing, and then all of a sudden the doctor he starts moving the equipment away, the lights and all the stuff. He starts moving all away, and he looks at me and goes, "There's nothing there." He said, "Not only is the blockage not there that they thought was there, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
not there, but even the stenosis in your veins that's supposed to be around
What?
the stenosis that's in your veins that was from the other stents,
Yeah,
that's not there."
that's but
And
God.
God, and that's why
That's but God.
I looked at that doctor. I said, "Are you a religious man?" I said, "Because let me tell you, I've been praying for exactly this for the last couple of weeks." So I mean, that was another one. So after that happened, I had a meeting with all of our guys at the show. I said, "Listen, you know, I've been a Christian running the show, but we haven't been a Christian show. But from now here on out, we are a Christian company.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? We're going to pray before these events. We're going to do this. We're going to do everything. All glory to God." You know what I mean? And basically, that was my opportunity for them. If someone didn't feel comfortable or they didn't want to be a part of it or whatever it was, they had every opportunity there to go, "Okay, I don't want to be a part of this." But everyone stayed, and I believe everyone's lives has benefited for the best from that because we all come together, we all pray. We have a church service on Sunday nights at my building. They're more than welcome to come. A lot of them live off, obviously, so they're not able to come on Sundays. But I mean, we're all in this fellowship together.
Now, that's awesome. That's totally awesome. And that's something people don't talk a lot about, how you can be a wrestler and be a Christian.
Yeah,
It's like they don't mix, but they do mix. It
they
just depends,
can.
you know.
And like I said, our ministry is after the initial heart stuff happened. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Is wrestling in the Bible? You know what I mean? Just one of those questions. You know what I mean? Of course, the first thing I found is Genesis 32:24,
Right.
which is the story of Jacob wrestling
The
God on
rest
the
of it,
mountain.
right, right.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and that verse, that's the one that spoke to me. That was the verse that really brought me to Christ. Was me going, "Oh, you know, like this verse was for me."
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we named our ministry after. It's Genesis 32:24 Ministries
Okay.
because,
Oh, okay. I didn't know. I have to remember that one.
yeah. So, and that's kind of what I tell the guys. We're all wrestling with something. We're all
Mm-hmm.
wrestling with addiction. We're all wrestling with, in my case, I was wrestling with ego and that kind of things of that nature. So we're all wrestling with something, and you know, we're all wrestling with faith and how to do this. We're all sinners. No one's
Mhm.
perfect. You know what I mean? So if being Christian isn't being perfect, being Christian is realizing you are not,
Right.
and that you needed that perfect person to die for you to cover your sins, to be covered in the blood. So like they people have been really, when you say wrestling church, people automatically, whoa, what? Wait a minute, what's that?
Mhm.
Like we're praising Hulk Hogan or something like that. And it's nothing like that at all. I'm the head of our church is Jesus Christ, obviously.
Mhm.
I'm the director,
Mhm.
and then I have a pastor and his wife are our
Mhm.
pastors, and they're the ones that lead that kind of stuff. And my wife is the worship leader. She picks out the songs and stuff like that. So I
Mhm.
mean, we're all working together to do this, and we tithe and take up money and all that kind of money we do. I use to help people in our community. Like I pay people's electric bills, or I pay their water bills, or if I see a family that looks like they're struggling in Walmart, I'll go pay for their groceries. Just whoever God puts in front of me that looks like they need help, and I have the ability to help them, I try to do it.
Okay, that's a good thing. That's an excellent thing. Now we're gonna close this out, and I appreciate you, Greg. But there's one thing I want you to do. Two things.
Sure.
Gonna tell me about Genesis 3. I'm gonna give you. It's gonna be all you. Talk about
Okay.
Genesis, and then we're gonna also talk about. Is it Friday nights or Saturday nights now?
Well, we do every Friday night in Ripley, and we do every
Okay.
Saturday night in Dyersburg. So we do
Okay.
two
Now,
shows a week.
so now this is your opportunity. You can tell it all now.
All right. Every Friday night, Ripley, Tennessee, 207 South Washington Street in Ripley, Tennessee. Power Pro Arena, bell time 8 o'clock. Pro Wrestling Mid South action. Then on Saturday nights, 1827 St. John Avenue at the Herb Welch Wrestleplex. Bell time 7:30. And then tickets are only $5 for each night. Kids 5 and under are free, and also military with your proper ID, you get in free as well. Then on Genesis 3224 Ministries, we hold services every Sunday night at 6 at 1827 St. John, the Herb Welch Wrestleplex in Dyersburg, Tennessee. At 6 p.m. We usually go to 7 p.m., 7:30, something like that. It's very low key. Come dressed as you are. We're a non-denominational, non-judgmental kind of service. We just want you to get your daily bread. We want you to hear the word of God. We want you to have a relationship with our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ.
And there you go. I tell you what, this has been a great hour. I've enjoyed this because you've uplifted me, because sometimes it's like, okay, this is what's going on in wrestling. I don't want to be a part of it. But you and people like Brandon Mays, Brandon
Mm-hmm.
Carnage, who want to uplift,
Yeah,
it makes wrestling a lot better.
yeah,
And I'm gonna say I appreciate you for making wrestling a lot better, even for me. Even though I see you guys from the back. I saw a lot of things that went on because I've worked for various companies all around. I hadn't been blessed to be up there, but I've seen what you guys do. I keep up with it. And that's one reason I wanted you to be a part of, because you are a very important part of this. And I can't speak everywhere, but this area. Okay,
yeah.
you have built something that everybody can't do. Okay, and I
It's
got
it,
people do.
we've been in business for 10 years now, so
Mhm.
it's few and far between companies that are able to last that long, and obviously with one owner, one booker, in the same place for that long, we're still rocking and rolling, and it's all, like I said, all glory to God. I mean, if there's one other thing though too, if anyone wants to see our shows and stuff like that, but you're not able to get out,
Mhm.
you can actually subscribe to Pro Wrestling Mid South on Facebook. It's only $9.99 a month, and
Okay.
you can see our Saturday night events for that 9.99. We go live on Facebook for our subscribers. So
Okay.
for only $9.99 a month, you can see 4 or 5 maybe shows a month of Pro Wrestling Mid South.
Hey, you can't beat that. You really can't beat that. I tell you, I might do
Yep.
that. But as I say, and you're all over the place, which is a good thing. You said you're going to Connecticut. I wish you great luck in Connecticut uh, this week. And like I said, I just wish you good luck and wish you blessings, man.
I wish I'm happy you had me on, man. I know we've only been around each other a few times in professional
Yeah.
wrestling, but I mean, I'm glad you had me on, and glad we could talk like this. And anytime you want to bring me
I want you to
back,
come back
and
again. I want you to come back again because, yeah, and I'm honest because like I said, I want to be positive in this world of negative Nellies and everybody.
Yeah,
This is no, I want to be positive. So,
yeah, absolutely.
and here we are with the Golden Boy, Greg Anthony. This Hot Rod saying, "See you later at the matches."